just eating.
Yeah, but don't do that while we're live. That's just gross, man. Have a bit of respect for the people listening.
Literally just you.
No, for the people listening.
Oh,
and
am I
also for my ears, because I don't want to hear that. Oh, for God's sake. Oh, God.
Did you hear that?
Yes, I did. That was disgusting.
You're setting the mood. It's been a tired one today. It's been busy.
Yeah.
Have you been busy?
Yeah, I have been
What have you
busy.
been doing?
I had FTTP 10 a.m. till 3 p.m.
Woo!
And then I had an exec, well, it was technically 2:30. And then I had an exec meeting from 2:30 till 3:30.
Gosh.
And then I had a couple of things to do on campus. And then I had a breathe rehearsal 4 till 5. And then we've been doing this ever since.
Ever since.
I did get a coffee, but yeah,
Yes.
after that.
Shout out to all the first years doing their FTTP on Thursday.
Genuinely murder me.
It's going to be good. By the time this comes out live, it will be...
It won't be done yet. It'll be like a couple of days before.
Yeah, it will be...
So I'll be stressed even more.
It will, I think, this is coming out Tuesday, 2 p.m. So
Yeah.
yes, hopefully you'll be in a good place. I'm sure everyone will be in a great place, guys. Remember, this is uni, but it's not like life.
First year doesn't count.
First year doesn't count, just pass, which you all.
But
be
also,
okay
like, I get
of.
all those perfectionists out there because we just want to get first.
Aim for the stars. So even if you don't quite reach them, you still land on the moon. Do you know what I mean?
Stars.
Exactly.
Whatever that song is we used to sing in primary school, I can't remember.
We did the one which was like, "Do you ever feel like a plastic bag?"
That's just
Drifting
Katy
through the
Perry.
wind.
That's not.
Wanting to
No, I'm talking about the
start
specific
again.
songs that they used to put up on the board, and they had like those
Yeah,
wave
yeah.
presentations, like Combine Harvester song, Big Red.
Yeah.
Combine
Combine harvest.
harvester.
Okay, fine. In those we had the "Our God is a great big God."
Okay, so you
Our
were religious.
God. No, we weren't actually. We didn't have
Oh.
a religious. We weren't a religious school. We literally we did learn about religion, obviously, but
Well, yeah, of course.
once a week with the pastor.
Oh, you actually had someone come in and talk to you about
Local
it?
church.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah. So we do that one. I'm trying to think of because there were non-religious. Because there's my family will occasionally send me videos of me like talking nonsense, but it's clearly nonsense that like is. There was one about tractors. It's me going like tractor, something about
Okay, that
farmers
just-
work.
That sounds like something creepy.
Really? Tractors.
And it's like, Daisy, Daisy, give me your answer, dude. That's what it sounded like. I always remember the harvest one. Or maybe it's like, cabbages and greens,
Yes.
broccoli and
Oh,
beans.
we had one in primary school which was like,
cauliflower
"You've
and
got to."
roasted potatoes taste so good
For
to
me,
me.
it was. We had one which was like, "You got to think like a Roman, think like a Roman, work like a Roman." It's amazing. I've got to show you after.
I
It's
remember
called
when
Like a
someone came
Roman.
in and we like pretended to be Romans for a day. It was
Oh
great.
my gosh! To everyone listening, you're about to hear my fingers click. Hear this. Ooh.
This is absolutely nothing to do with this.
Well, because we kind of said before that we would
segment.
start off with a song, and then we didn't really know when to start bringing it in.
Yeah.
So we'll bring it in now. You ready?
Okay, yeah. Can I just say something crazy?
I love crazy.
All my life has been a series of doors in my face. And then suddenly I bump into you.
Something. Because it's like, I've been searching my whole life to find my own place. Maybe it's the party talking or the chocolate fondue.
But with
you, something.
I see your face.
And it's nothing like I've ever known before. Love is an open door.
Love is an open door. Love is an open door with you.
With you.
With you.
With you.
Love is an open door. Yeah.
Wait, wait.
No, and then they say something, don't they?
Oh,
Because-
I mean, it's crazy.
What?
We finish each other's.
Sandwiches.
That's what I was gonna say.
I've never met someone who thinks so much like me.
Jinx.
Jinx again.
Our mental
Mental
synchronization can have but one explanation. You
and I
are just meant
to
to
be. Say goodbye.
Say goodbye
to the pain of the past. We don't have to feel it anymore.
Love is an open door.
Love is an open
door.
Life
could
is so
be
much
more
more with you.
with you,
With you.
with you. Love is an open door.
door.
We chose that song
Yeah.
because it was the only musical song we both
That harmony
knew.
didn't sound right though.
Well, that's because I'm unable.
Oh,
But wait,
no,
well,
wasn't.
the end
It
one.
could have been me. I don't know.
Wait, the end one's because it's the door, and then he goes door.
No, not
You're
that
talking about the end
one. I'm talking about the rest of the ones before.
Everything. That was the only right one.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, to be fair, you might have done something wrong, but if it was a competition, I would win because I probably did it wrong. Anyway,
Yeah, that's
moving
not
on.
even to do with the point whatsoever. That was just a bit of fun.
Welcome to the Backstage Drama Podcast.
Woo!
We are currently... It doesn't do it in regular seconds, so I have no clue how far in we are, but you know.
Gotta be at least 5 or 10 minutes.
Way well in.
6 or 7 minutes.
Okay.
Holly, we know you're gonna love that.
Hell yeah, I might add a voice effect on that.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, so ciao. Anyway, so we are here to talk to you about
Acting. I mean, it was.
Wait, I feel like we've got to do it again.
Yeah.
We are ready to talk to you about
Acting.
acting.
Whoa!
I love acting.
Because that's almost as if that's what we do.
To all of you listening now, raise your hand if you're an actor. I can see so many hands.
He
Wow.
says to a blank wall.
Yeah, I don't even have anyone opposite me.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's actually depressing because we're sitting next to each
Yeah.
other, not opposite from each other.
I'm sat next to 4 surreptitiously soft 4 buttermilk pancakes. That's the name
Oh,
of them.
wow,
Surreptitiously. I've never seen that word in marketing.
That was incredible language there, Daniel.
Surrep-
That's the type of shit you put in your GCSE English. Like your writing bit, and it's like, the elephant moved elegantly
And
across the lake.
surreptitiously.
Like that kind of thing. Anyway.
Yeah, to be fair,
distracted
I never use a
again.
word like elephant in an English exam anymore.
Oh, damn.
Me when I haven't done a sat down exam in years.
Me when I'm so thankful that I haven't.
However, I can tell you one of the last sit down exams I had was for my theatre A level. Ooh,
Okay,
segue.
that's Daniel. We're getting sidetracked again. It was a struggle to find one that we wouldn't have the risk of being copyrighted, because every podcast to do with theatre is called Half Hour Cool or 5 Minute Cool or something to do with, theatre terminology. And we were just like, what on earth are we going to call it that's still related to theatre? That Daniel, what are you doing?
I had a whole R drink. Where did it go?
You've probably drunk it all.
No.
Well, I didn't take it. See, we can't keep focused on the topic because Daniel's always lost something or gets distracted.
No, but you
by
gotta
something.
understand this is straight up paranormal activity because I finished that one ages ago. Oh, it's right there. Right. Okay. So
It's not paranormal
Ciao.
activity. Daniel's
Anyways,
just blind.
So keep talking.
Okay. Well, I suppose the initial things to start off would be like, what does acting mean to you?
This is very, very true. Very true.
I can just hear that bottle
Yeah, I know,
whistling.
I know.
We blow our
I
whistle,
realise why they
baby,
don't.
Whistle, baby. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Anyway.
Okay, so
Yeah.
ciao. Anyway, so okay, what does acting mean to you, Eleanor?
Oh my god, like this is like so like chat when I'm famous, right? And I'm being
Yeah.
interviewed. This is exactly what's. So what does acting mean to you? What's your method?
What's your method?
And you know what? It's a difficult one because I've always struggled to define it. To me, it just means the act or the action of being. Like, I've always seen acting as not something you put on or something you become, but just something you are in that present moment. And I suppose that's something I've always tried to adopt in any characters I've played. It's not like I become the character, but there's something in the character that I try to connect with myself, and so I use that part of myself to connect with the character, but I don't become it because, like, method acting is great in that, but it's not actually very healthy. And the whole uniqueness of playing a character is playing it, like, with your spin on it. So you've got to kind of keep authentic to yourself, to an extent anyway. That was very long-winded.
No, you feel like you have to play the character doesn't play you. Like you make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah, exactly. But it's not like, I don't like to intellectualize it too much. I very much focus on the feeling and the sensations, especially within the body when you play a character. And play is important because your imagination is what allows you to imagine the circumstances, if I can pronounce that word correctly.
I wasn't going to say anything. The circumstances.
And also just like the logic part of your brain will always be like, oh, well, you're not on a submarine, but it's like you've got to imagine that you are.
Is that a can you teach me how to
Can
breathe
you teach me how to breathe reference? Hello.
You can't see it now, but she's doing an action. Like, I feel like I don't even know how to describe this. It's like Doctor Strange.
It's the Doctor Strange.
She just Doctor
Charlotte
Strange.
Hitchens influenced me too much.
Charlotte Hitchens shout out.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of shout outs. We've already had a Holly Porter shout out with the 6-7.
Yes, this is true. Hi, Holly. Hope you're listening.
Yeah, if you're not, that's that. If the exec aren't listening to this right now, that's kind of disgraceful because I'm just going to feel betrayed.
Although you who's sitting here or standing, but probably sitting, thank you.
It's like that radio show game that's like, are you sitting or standing? Have you seen that? The person on the radio will call someone and they'll have to try and guess whether they're sitting or standing. That sounds really fun. Anyway,
do you
Daniel.
think we sound like we're sitting?
Well, people know what the podcast room is like and they'll assume
they
that
didn't know we were in the podcast room.
Yeah, but it's kind of obvious.
Why?
Because that's the only other place apart from where you film Woods Wireless.
Okay. I also have a mic set up in my home.
Okay, but we're not at your house, are we?
No.
Anyway.
Yes.
What does acting mean to you, Daniel Tulp?
Okay. I have a very, very, very simplistic mindset in life, but also when it comes to acting, in the sense that I'm not one that's bound to much technological or like advanced language towards acting. I would love to sit here and say it's because like I'm so free-spirited and I'm so knowledgeable, I can construct my own mindset. But truth be told, I don't have masses of education in specific things like styles of practice and practitioners and stuff like that. Just where I was from, like I had an amazing teacher, shout out Miss Ball, big ups Miss Ball, shout out Miss Levy, big ups Miss Levy, and we learned a lot about the things we taught, but I was never really pushed to kind of look outside of that. So I would say what acting means for me, acting is an escape. It's a very common one that I hear people talk about. For me, it's definitely like that, a way to kind of perform and do whatever you want, act out in all ways you kind of can't do in real life. But also, it's a means to entertain. These are the very basic ones, but that is kind of what I based it off of. Like, I love the idea of entertaining people and putting on a show, whilst also carrying a message. And I think the way that I do so, talking about method acting, I love the idea of method acting. And I think I can get into character quite well, in the sense that when I'm doing a show, if I'm in the interval, for example, I'll stay quite in character, just so the emotional scape that I've created for myself doesn't get lost. But in terms of like Heath Ledger, I'm not like Heath Ledger. that is a dangerous level of method. But yeah, I would say that's what acting means to me, and I think it's something that anyone can do. And like obviously, I think there's like you learn and you can train and you can be a better actor, but everyone has a acting instinct, because at the end of the day, acting is you. You are always acting, as we've learned. As you learn in TAPIC, term 1, week like 3.
The idea of performing, which I think will definitely come on. I know that I'm going to talk about that later.
I believe that to every extent.
But I think it's also really freeing, just because you kind of get to shed the notions that you've constructed about yourself and just get to put on an entirely different mannerism and, you know, say things that you wouldn't normally say. It's making me think exactly of, I don't know if anyone's seen or read People, Places and Things, but by Duncan Macmillan. Denise Gow plays the lead character, Emma, and she's an actor. And she talks about how like on stage you can say all these things that you wouldn't normally say, and you get to be this person that you would never have the chance to be, and as soon as you leave through stage door, it's all gone. And it's really sad, but it is true. It is something that you kind of like, that moment in time where you're playing that character is so like visceral, and then you step away from that and it's just kind of back to being you. But you get to put on different, especially if you're playing a caricatured character, like it becomes really fun.
Absolutely. I very much believe in that mindset, and it's just the ability to, as you say, just kind of let loose and let free. Because also some people view it as quite a scary idea. I mean, I know in said topic lecture they literally go on to say that, you know, this does not mean you're pretending, because some people do think like, well, if everything's a performance, then what matters? But a performance is so much more than like a big West End show. You know what I mean? Performance can be like trying to be a better person, trying to do a nice thing.
So true.
Like performing is everywhere, but that doesn't mean everywhere has a massive performance. Like you are always performing in my eyes, but that doesn't mean you're any less of who you are. Because like, how do you play people? Like how would Eleanor play Daniel? By playing Daniel, by looking at his performances. But they're his anyway.
Yeah.
Doesn't make them fake.
They're authentic to you.
They're authentic to me, hopefully. But yeah, I'm in agreement with that.
Sometimes it becomes so like over intellectualized, especially when you actually study theatre and you can see all the practitioners that are current now or the ones that have come before you, and you kind of think, well, it's almost overwhelming because, you know, there's so many different avenues that you could go down to kind of think about what like connects with you. Like if you're talking about naturalism, you've got Stanislavski, Strasberg, Meisner, Uta Hagen, Max Green, shout out because he absolutely adores Uta Hagen. If you're going non-naturalistic, you've got Brecht, you've got Berkhoff, you've got Grotowski, you've got Artaud. If you're going like movement or
shout out Berkhoff,
like body oriented, you've got like Frantic Assembly, Lecoq,
Laban's efforts.
Laban, although I've never heard of Laban before.
Never heard of Laban.
So I mean, you can explain that.
This is interesting. Yes, well, Laban's principles. Like, you may not have heard of Laban, but you have definitely heard of the idea of Slice and Swift, and like, God, I would have to know all of them. Essentially, I don't know an awful lot about Laban myself, but it was one of the side things that was attributed to my A-level syllabus, or at least maybe it was more extracurricular for my teacher. But it's a way of breaking down and learning, or at least the principles, a way of like helps a lot of people learn lines, for example, because it's a section of like doing words of like how would one convey this line, like a sharp or like slice or da 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 da. If I look it up,
I'd never heard of that.
It's Laban's principles.
You also got Chekhov and Punch Drunk and Knee High. They all specialise in their own things.
Yeah,
which is
like,
so cool.
I know Laban talks about like weight, time, and space. Yes, like they define it into three things: weight, time, and space. So and they split up into words. So for example, do you punch a line? So it carries a lot of weight, but it's a very quick shot. Like it's a very quick line. And it's directly at you. Or you have like slash, which is also strong and quick, but it's more flexible. You know, it's anywhere. Or you have like glide, which is direct, but it's sustained. And it's very light-hearted.
Oh, that's very interesting.
And it was like splitting up like that. So little things like that. There's so many. I think what we can learn is there are so many people and so many messages.
So many people have had their own things to say about what acting means, and we're just another two people to make our comments about what we think it is.
And I think our comments, if please disagree with me if you disagree with me, but I think we both kind of on the vision that like, okay, I genuinely opened that thinking that it was I thought, okay, not even gonna try. That was a bottle, by the way. Yeah, we both carry the mindset that you can't fully live by one principle,
no, absolutely
one ideology,
no way.
one practitioner, because every practitioner in themselves, as we've recently looked at, they collect from other people, whether it's Artaud from Buchner, or I'm sure Buchner from someone, and to then ourselves just go, yes, I fully believe in Stanislavski, when Stanislavski's principles are based on other people. It's impossible.
And also so many stem from Stanislavski, Strasberg, Meisner.
Yeah, indeed. So I think we both agree that you the more you know is probably amazing.
Yeah.
But also don't be afraid if you're a bit like me and you don't necessarily know masses of names or whatever, because you can still adopt principles, you can still do whatever. And if you ever are inclined, because for me, I think when I was younger, especially like when I was in A-level, because even in A-level I had some absolute like nerds, very good nerds of course, but who knew everything, and it almost put me off researching, which feels like such a backwards thing to respond with, but it made me think like, wow, like I am not like these people. Like I cannot do that. But it's like, but that's not true because I was expecting myself to like, okay, in a night I need to know what they know. But it's not true, and I was still a decent enough actor and performer.
No, exactly. Having the knowledge doesn't always make you a better actor.
Indeed.
Because you know you think about a lot of child actors, and you know they won't have learned anything about these
Studied
things.
the inner workings of
Owen
Brecht.
Cooper, when he was filming Adolescence, he was absolutely phenomenal, but he might have only just done a couple of bits of Stanislavski or Brecht in the lead up to his GCSEs. He doesn't know all the things that we know, and yet he was just as phenomenal because it's that sense of play and that imagination. Yeah. And that's honestly what drives the authenticity of it more so than the knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely. It's way easier to play someone, to play a human, because that's who you are, than it is to try and like, I don't know, if you get told, okay, we want to play in this style, sometimes obviously if you research, I'm sure of course you can play into a certain style, but the human style is here.
Yeah, because that's what we all are. We're just all trying to be authentic.
Wow. Don't we sound like such like we got doctorates?
No, genuinely.
In yapology. It's funny.
Well, I suppose who wants to yap first?
Well, this is it. I mean, people aren't going to know what I'm laughing about, but this is what I'm laughing about.
It's my endless bullet points.
To be fair, I've got a fair bit myself. But
yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to let you go first.
Oh, that's quite something.
I'll talk at you, and to be fair, I think all we need is for you to start, and then it will bounce back and forward.
Oh, 100%.
Do you know what I mean?
There's so many things that like I've written down that I want to talk about, but they're all just notes, and I might end up completely skipping over many. But alas, if you really want to know my own process, Daniel's now typing.
Just checking if our recording's still being recorded.
I know, that was my concern.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. Also, it looks like it's not recording, but it is. It's just... If I get really, really close, it goes really loud like this, but...
We don't want it that loud.
Yeah.
Anyway, I have an approach, but I don't really think about it too much. I'm not trying... The thing is, if I overthink it, I will get in my head. And that's probably like the worst thing that you could do as an actor. So I try to have quite a naturalistic focus, but of course that depends on the project. Because if it's more caricatural work, then, or if it's more Brechtian where you're focusing on the political message, then it becomes less about you trying to be as human or realistic as possible. But anyway, I'm really actually interested on like feeling emotion in the body more so than in like thinking about it. I keep saying intellectually, but it's true in the way that I think about it. I really try to relax and just allow myself to be present, because one of the biggest things that I learned was on Henry V. We had someone called Paula come in, and big ups to Paula. She was phenomenal, and she came in and did some voice work and presence work, because it is definitely something to stand on a stage in front of thousands of people, and although we're not saying anything, our presence says a lot in itself. Yes. And you know that her voice work was incredible, but one thing I really remember is the idea of being present and how you can feel that sensation in the body, and how that kind of changes the mind's focus. So I always try to be as present as I can and not think about the lines so much, but think about, I suppose, motivations and intentions is used so much, but everyone has a reason for doing something, and if it is or isn't achieved, the feeling arises from that. It's not feeling first, because you can't force yourself to feel something.
This is true. You've got to ease into it, and you've got to get it from somewhere. So
I try to not wholly become the character. I still like a little bit of distance, to kind of imagine what they're thinking, and again, intentions and motivations, and that's what drives the feeling or the action.
Yeah, I think
That's kind of my
your
overall.
2 cents. Yeah, I mean, I also very much understand and agree with that. Like, emotions are something that it's quite tricky to kind of get into. Well, you know, the phenomenon that is, you know, like, you'll give 30% more on tech day.
Yeah.
Or in the whack if you're in the whack. Like, there's this, or on stage if you're on stage. Point is like, you know, emotions will always trigger a more realistic reaction. And so it's like when it's tech day of a show, whether you've done a school play or if you're in the whack or if you're in the fab or if you're in uni or out of uni, there's definitely this thing of like, you know, when the lights are in the right ambience,
Yeah.
when you're in costume, you know your lines, everyone does, and everyone's giving it 100%, you end up going like 110 because
Exactly.
the emotion you develop into character. So I think, and emotions play a lot to part in that because there's less distraction. So fixing it with that phenomenon is like, yeah, like, I think, yeah, it's some people can, like, you know, for example, like crying on command and stuff. I find
Yeah.
that really difficult.
Yeah.
I don't think I know how to do that. I don't think. Can you? You strike me
Yeah,
as
I
someone that can
can.
cry. Yeah, you can cry. That's so interesting. Could you do it right now? But like, it would take you. But you have to get into the mindset.
Oh
no?
yeah, I wouldn't be able to do it instantly, but if
That's
there
so
was,
interesting.
I suppose, Stanislavski's emotional memory, if there
Yeah.
was things that I could think about that
Yeah.
would get me in that frame of mind, then yeah, I probably
Mm.
could.
So it's like, so people who cry on command, or at least I'm going to use you as a stat or as a
As
status
an example.
as an example. It's like, so you can cry on command, but it's actually more accurately you can get sad on command, and your sadness just happens to bring tears out.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Damn, that's
There was
so
something
interesting.
recently we did in FTTP with a practitioner from, was it Spain or was it Portugal? It might have been Brazil, actually. I can't quite remember. But he kind of got us all standing up in a line, and there was some music that he had as well. And he told us to be really extremely happy, like to the point where like we had to like grin like extreme, and it was almost like too much, and to laugh, but also by doing it over the top, you ended up actually feeling it a little bit.
Yeah.
And then with the music as well, of course, that helped. But then he went completely the other way within, you know, a second, and said, now I want you to be like nostalgic or reminiscent or, you know, regretful. And actually, it was the complete opposite from having your face so tense and just to drop everything. And almost that relaxing brought tears, which was so interesting. And that's something that, I mean, I always try to do, is just to relax everything in my body and release all tension.
Yeah.
Because then that's where you actually...
It's just like a canvas to paint on.
Yeah,
at that
exactly.
point. That's so interesting. Yes, like, I use that metaphor because, like, I also really get the importance of letting everything go. I mean, that's also something that Paula kind of pushed with voice and stuff like that. Like, slightly different because it's more about a specific thing. But yeah, just... When I was younger, I remember really struggling with the concept of letting everything go, because it's like, well, if I'm just in a mood right now, why don't I just accentuate that? But yeah, it's so impactful how that works, and it's so cool. I'm trying to think about what I do. So when like, for me to get into character, because I think we think like a bit of method. Like, I will, if there's a character that I need to learn currently, you know, shout out to Rover. Week 9, grab your tickets. They're out right now. Like, my character, Don Antonio, is his description, amongst other things, you know, in the script itself, is he's the Viceroy's son of Naples. And I'm like, right, okay. For me, I like 2 things. I like getting an understanding of who this character is to the directors, obviously, but also who the character is to the script, and kind of merging the 2 together. So I instantly started like researching who is this person in real life, and I found, like, you know, who was the Viceroy of Naples, which means because apparently back in the day, oh my god, this is gonna be so bad if I don't know if it's Spain or Italy. It's Italy. Looked up who the Viceroy of Naples was, who essentially means like the ruler of that area, because back in the 1600s they used to, like, they thought that, you know, the king ruling all the land, so it's so much work, we're going to split it up so like you can have multiple kings of smaller areas, which was interesting. It was king-like. And then I researched who if they had any children, and it actually turned out the Viceroy of Naples from the 1650, which is where the Rover is situated, He had 3 children, 2 girls and a boy. 2 girls kind of died quite early, but this boy obviously grew up, and I think he died in his 30s. But he had gone to war, and he was very, very like spoiled as a child in his limited description, obviously being a voice for his son. But it was kind of like, wow, this is interesting description because this is a real person. This might not have been who the author intended or the writer intended it to be. Might not, because it was writing to time. Might not have been a person that she knew about. But it was so interesting to think, okay, well, I can paint this towards a person that can help me get into character. So details from outside sources really helped me kind of get into character. And then obviously Holly and Sam are directors. Shout out Holly again. Shout out Sam. Really just allow me to kind of get everything, and I just love this kind of mix of ideas and just creating a real profile. I'm very much a profiler of when it comes to characters, so that for me is my biggest thing. And I find that because I find the idea of like forcing an emotion quite hard, much like we just spoke about, having information just kind of lets me more naturally go, okay, this isn't I start to shift from what do I think Don Antonio would do to this is what Don Antonio would do. And I just become that in that moment. It's quite cool.
Yeah. Is this a segment where I yap about my favourite practitioners now?
I mean, it can be. It can be. How about I start? Because my section's inevitably going to be shorter.
Yeah, go for it.
And then you probably have a lot of...
What practitioners do you use to get into character, Daniel?
Well, it's interesting because I have different practitioners for whether I'm devising or if I'm creating a character or like acting. So if I'm acting, I'm very naturalistic when I act, unless the play needs otherwise. So probably Stanislavski, a big one. Burkhoff, actually. Take back my whole first sentence. I remember doing a Lambda monologue from West by Burkhoff, and holy guac, it's insane. It is one chunk. I was going to say about this big, but that only helps Eleanor out. It was a whole page, and it had no full stops. It was just slashes. And I asked my teacher, I was like, what do these slashes indicate? She was like, treat them like shifts in thought. And I was like, phew. And it just ended up being this whole page, and it just fast paced everything, just and that kind of developed me to be quite episodic. And then in terms of practitioners, that helped me with the devising process outside of Stanislavski and Burkhoff also George Buchner,
Icon.
23 years old when he died. Crazy. Literally referenced by who in their manifesto?
Antonin Artaud in his Theatre of Cruelty manifesto said that he's heard about Wojciech, and he had been envisioning using that play to stage his initial ideas.
And isn't that low-key cuckoo crazy to be recognised by that at that point? Anyway, I definitely use Buchner's kind of like idea of episodic like devising and non-linearness. Like whenever I create something, it was drilled into me to not end game. That's what my teacher would call it, and I'm pretty sure she just called it that because Endgame came out like that year.
Avengers Endgame,
right? Hashtag Avengers Endgame. Shout out Thanos. But like creating with the idea that in this room, in this space right now, it doesn't matter what you've done before, doesn't matter what you do after. Obviously, influences matter, especially if it's a more naturalistic play, 100%. But don't be, if you're just straight up devising, don't be limited by an idea of what would come next. If you have, like, we're currently doing Community, which is a year 2 module for you year 1s out there. Like, trust, it's a good module. I hope you picked it. And for those in year 2, don't talk. It's good, I promise. But no pre-reading. But like, we have to outside of doing a workshop, we have to devise a 30 to 40 minute piece. And whilst we've been creating, so especially with the time limit and the amount that we have, it's so easy to think, okay, this is our vision, because we want it to relate to the prisoners that we're going in to see. So it's like, okay, we have a story here, and we know we kind of want this message to be the overarching thing towards the end. And that's true, but we've really tried, at least my group have really tried to not think about what would come next until we're devising it. And that just creates much more realistic interactions, because particularly with ours, it being kind of rooted in realism, we have discussions with people. Has it gone off again? Oh, okay. We've had these conversations with characters, whether it's a person in an assisted premises talking to their roommate or talking to a key worker. And if we had kind of gone into it being like, okay, we want this to be the outcome of the conversation, we want this to be the overarching theme of this thing, and this is what we want it to symbolize, we'd have such a harder time writing it. But this allows us to be free. So I don't know if you have any notes or comments about yourself about the likes of Berkoff or Buchner, but those are my kind of big boys, those are my favourites.
I definitely I did my EPQ on different acting styles, and I forgot to mention Berkoff was another one that I looked at, particularly his interpretation of Kafka's Metamorphosis, and I watched so many videos, and he was a character. He was, I mean, a lot of practitioners are, and I found his methods quite intriguing, but I wouldn't say they're my primary go-tos, but they're certainly, like, helpful, especially if you're working with animalization. You might find Berkoff quite useful because of his interpretation of, like, becoming a beetle.
Yeah.
But I really am quite a Meisner fan. Sandy Meisner.
Shout Sandy.
Shout out Sandy.
Can't believe practitioner and in SpongeBob. That's kind of crazy.
But he is all about creating the emotion from doing the action. And as much as I'm quite impatient, so I find that sometimes his method doesn't work if you're quite a stubborn person, or like repeating things can get a bit boring. But I think there is some aspects to it that do really work. Because he has quite a focus on the scene partner, and I think that's really good for when you're trying to connect with the other people in the room or the other people in the scene, because you kind of work on the same plane of thought, which is so much better than just focusing on yourself. And I do like Strasberg, but he can tend to be quite controversial because method acting can get quite dangerous if you don't do it effectively. But again, one of his big principles was just about like meditating or relaxing before you become a character. And I think that actually really helps because you kind of rid yourself of anything that you're already thinking of, and it just allows you the space to think about the character and nothing else. I also really like Michael Chekhov. He was all about space and how bodies interact within a space, what kind of energy you can bring to a space. And again, that's like Meisner's connection with scene partners. I think for me especially as quite an overthinker, trying to bring the focus off of myself as much as I can, again, by just trying to be present, is what I like to do the most. And I primarily want the audience to feel it as much as I'm feeling it. I think understanding the character is something I really do try to do more so than becoming them. Because if you understand them, I don't know, it's sort of like there's an acknowledgement of who they are, and you can go, okay, well, I know how you might behave in this situation, but also I'm putting my own spin on, your characteristics.
How important do you think character originality is, especially when you're doing, like, let's say, a Shakespeare piece?
Oh God, it's so difficult because, especially within Shakespeare, everyone has their own. Or there's quite, like, particularly within Shakespearean scholars, there's a set interpretation of the way a character should be played. And I think sometimes there is a sense of right and wrongness. Because you can kind of feel it connect more with the dialogue. Like there was an interpretation, I can't remember the actor, of a recent Lady Macbeth, and I found that her interpretation didn't come across as strong enough as I thought it should. And maybe that's just my interpretation of Lady Macbeth, and I prefer her to be a, strong feminist woman who dominates the play more so than Macbeth. Maybe that's just the way that I want her to be.
Interesting take,
But I think sometimes, especially with Shakespeare, everyone feels that they have to be original in a sense. And sometimes it's necessary, especially if it's like newly written work and that character's never been played before. You have so much free reign. And Shakespeare can be restricting in that way. But I also think
people also come in with their own interpretations anyway. Even if even as a performer, you also have your own prior thoughts of who you think this would be. Because most people, especially if you have the ability to play, I don't know, let's say Henry V at a high place company like, I don't know, the Royal
The
Shakespeare
RSC.
Company, you probably have outside influences already.
Yeah.
So it's like, gosh, it's probably, very hard to be truly original.
Mm.
But that's probably the same with everything.
But I think it's so important to connect with the audience.
100%.
Like, Stanislavski was always about the third wall, and that's not the third wall, the fourth wall, and there being a boundary between the audience and the performers. But actually, I disagree, because I think it's so important, especially during those long Shakespearean soliloquies, to connect with the people that are watching, because there is like a non-verbal communication between the two.
Yeah.
There's never a solid boundary, and I don't think there ever should be, especially if you're trying to communicate a message.
Well, I mean, we could even take... we're going to sound like such Shakespeare scholars, but trust me, when it's just one Shakespeare player, no. Henry V. Like, when Henry V is doing the St. Christmas Day speech and is talking to everyone and trying to, I guess... Gosh, what is he trying to do? I'm going to relate it to, rather than try and understand the message of St. Christmas Day in its entirety, I'd rather point out, like, for example, when Sam, who played...
Westmoreland?
Yes, Westmoreland, and he talks about excusing those that don't fully align, or like
That was
those
actually
that
Henry
loyal.
that said that.
No, but the one where
You remember where he says you could not wish more than 5,000 men to join this royal battle.
But Henry is mocking Sam Westmoreland for that, because Westmoreland's like, we don't need these 1,000 extra men. Like, we've got all the ones
Henry
that we
says
need here
it likes us better
to wish
us one.
Yes, but he kind of plays with the fact, because he goes, like, be careful what you're saying, Westmoreland, because you've just unwished these 5,000 men.
Yeah.
And point being, whether I mean, hey, maybe maybe you're absolutely right. Point is, during this long speech and this long scene, it's a long scene. There's very little change to engage. He looks at the audience and he references the audience upon the 5,000 men. He turns and he faces them all and he points towards them. And or during St. Christmas Day itself, where he says, "These wounds I have gained on St. Christmas Day."
These wounds I had on St. Christmas Day.
And he leans down to the audience and he points directly at someone and he shows this person. It's like, yes. And it's like, weirdly enough, I mean, from a performer perspective, it's a bit harder to gauge. But even when I went to go see it, like, it didn't feel broken out of the scene at all. No,
acting is so intimate, especially when it's done well, because you're telling a story to these people watching. If you don't acknowledge them, then it doesn't have as much meaning, because when you include them, the audience see that you're all just human beings in a room. One's telling the story, one's listening. And there's a quote from Meryl Streep that I particularly like, and she says, "Acting is not about being someone different, it's finding the similarity in what is apparently different and then finding yourself in there."
That's lovely.
And I think that's because, especially when you play a character that seems so different from yourself, it can be quite hard to find something to connect with.
Yes.
But even if it's just something really rogue, and there's a part of you in that character, they're all human beings at the end of the day. And I think that's really special.
It is insanely special. Meryl Streep being such a good person. Such a legend, yeah. Her methodology is very much like that was the one that kind of interested me the most, was like, she believes that you should like just learn about everything except theatre. And like, in terms of like, and this is very interesting, kind of fitting into kind of the more like, for those that don't feel like they're particularly intellectual with certain practitioner types, or don't necessarily see themselves fitting to an ideology, Meryl Streep kind of says the opposite. Like, if you want to act something, or if you want to do a scene, or if you want to convey an emotion, learn everything there is outside of the acting world about said thing. So if you did a play about being a painter, you could read a bunch of books about acting and how to mimic certain things, or you could go out and be a painter. And obviously that's kind of a big example, because who just casually does that. But like, she would read herself up upon like certain histories or certain facts or certain plays or certain books or certain anything, that instead of teaching her specific techniques, taught her about what it meant to be a character which had these characteristics about them. And she just said she'd find it so much more natural to do so.
Because I think it's ultimately about experience. like living life is experiencing things, and each character is experiencing something, or something's happening to them. And actually, the more of life that you experience, the less it becomes about faking something and actually just being.
Yeah.
And I think the whole aim, especially in my mind, is to forget that you're performing, because performing kind of carries with it the sense that like what you're showing isn't true, or that you're putting on a bit too much, when actually humans, like, we don't naturally try to draw attention to ourselves. And so if you're stepping into the spotlight to deliver like a really intense monologue, it feels unnatural, and you feel like you have to do more. But actually, there was a clip I saw of Papa Asiedu doing a monologue from Hamlet, and it felt so real, because he wasn't trying to be Hamlet. He was just being a human being. And I think that was so much more powerful. Because when you get out of your head and you just let yourself be, and you live that experience, that moment becomes so much more real and true than anything you could be trying to recall or imagine. And in my mind, like I said at the beginning, acting is being. It's about experiencing. And I think that's when the most true things and authentic performances come through.
100% agreed. Like, wow, that is... I have nothing to say other than that.
Yeah, that became quite philosophical.
But it's true. Shifting the convo slightly, I think... I mean, you especially see this in musicals, but for me, I love a lot about acting is the entertainment side of things. And understanding where the comedic moments are. I remember when Paul, who played, what was his name? Pistol in Henry V, when he was doing a Q&A, he talked about comedy, and he was saying, like, just try everything, and just do things without permission. Like, if something's bad, do it worse, because leaning into a negative emotion is just as good for a play as leaning into a positive one. And so, like, there's one moment in Henry V that I feel like at least we're
always talking about Henry V.
Yes, but there's one scene where he brings in a bunch of cloth and he pretends it's a baby. He does so to get empathy for why he shouldn't go to war, if I'm not mistaken.
He's trying to plead for Llewellyn's life, and by using the baby, he's trying to prove that he's really loyal and manly and protective and worthy.
Yes. And
Llewellyn sees straight through it. Oh no, sorry, he's trying to plead for Bardolph's life. Llewellyn is the one he's trying to convince, but he sees straight through it and he says, no, he should be hanged.
Yes, and he was saying in a Q&A how that is obviously, that's not referenced in the script at all, having a baby to make, no. He just one day didn't say anything, he just brought in this prop baby. this bunch of
he fashioned it out of cloth.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Tamara, creative director, just didn't say anything for like a couple of the runs during the house process, and at one point she just went, why the baby? And he was just like, I just thought it'd be useful, and then they ended up keeping it.
Yeah, and sometimes it just sticks.
It just sticks because it's about that I would argue is original.
Yeah, the spontaneity of it. Yes. That's what that really adds to the authenticity.
To not be limited by what you think should go here.
Exactly.
Especially in a comedic output, 100%. But yes. How do you line learn?
That's such an interesting one. First of all, I record all of my lines on a voice memos on your phone. And then I will just go section through section, or split the lines into either individual lines or big sections.
Yeah.
And just learn one section. And then once I've got that one, go on to the next one, and then add them together. And I keep adding bits together until I've got the full thing. Of course, with that, you end up knowing the beginning a lot better than the end, but repetition for me is one of the only ways to get lines in my head.
I am the exact same. I feel like during this whole podcast, Eleanor's been saying really intellectual things, and I've gone, I get that. But true, I have a journal and I write. A lot of people think with journals you should have like you shouldn't do work or doodles or anything or non-reflective things in the same journal. I disbelieve that. I think just or maybe it's less of a disbelief, more I just don't care. But I will in my journal write down just line after line after line after line. When I was doing back eye, which we both were in as well.
Were in back eye.
I had the messenger monologue, which was the longest monologue I think I've ever done on stage, and because when set out, at least in the pace that I was doing it, it's about 7 minutes straight. Yeah. And it's a long thing, and it's also edited, and it's also kind of interesting wording, stuff like that. And yeah, I would have loved to be able to tell you that I found some really interesting character profile way of brainstorming everything and putting things into a mind map, but no, I literally wrote that 8-minute piece out upon dozens of pages. And we're talking about line learning today with my community group, because Daniel Barker, DCPM, Daniel Barker mention, he will get lines through in his brain through repetition, but in just performing. So he very rarely writes things out. He's very much he will engage with someone in the scene and he will learn it through that, which I find very impressive. But I don't know if maybe it's because our brains are ever so slightly similar, Eleanor. But yes, repetition through text. And also I'll say them as I'm writing them. I don't know if you do that. I have this app called, I genuinely think it's just called Line Learner or Line Rehearser, which kind of you can copy a text into, yes, it's called Script Rehearser, and you just copy the script into it, and it kind of sometimes does a really bad job of identifying the lines because it's just using a PDF that you've put in, and it just it's not AI, it's literally just a bit of code, and sometimes it's bad, but it kind of just uses Siri's voice to kind of say the lines before you, and you've got to try and speak it out, and then you can check to see how correct you were. But very basic methods over here. I'm very envious of people that can do really abstract things to learn, people that create memory palaces and stuff to kind of understand stuff.
I mean, it's whatever works for that individual. I mean, I just try and keep it as simple as possible. 100%. I speak the lines. If I'm trying to learn a section, I'll say it out loud and keep saying it out loud until I've got the whole section, and then, like I said, keep adding bits to it. But the crucial part is if you're sitting down and learning lines, then your brain gets used to the same location of wherever you've been sitting down learning them. And so actually the best way to do it is to walk around whilst you're doing it, because your brain is not only having to recite the information, but also to respond to all this new stimuli of the changing location of seeing your wardrobe or your bathroom or something like that. And it's having those multiple streams of information at once that you can then work with, because it's going to be different every time you do it on stage. And that brings me to one quick thing I learned from Manny, who was one of the cast members from Henry V. When we were initially in rehearsals, they were rehearsing a scene where Bardolph Nym and Pistol didn't want to go to war, and Llewellyn would come in and he'd be like, right, you need to go to war, this is absolutely unacceptable. And every single time they ran that scene, Manny did something different with sometimes he would cover his head, sometimes he would curl up on the floor, sometimes he would just turn away. Every time he did something different, and that really stuck with me, because it's a way to keep making new choices, is a way to keep the play feeling alive. Yeah. And I think the more you do it, there's the risk that you lose that sense of aliveness and it becomes too rehearsed. And I think when you actually just let yourself, again, play. Yeah. Shout out to Breathe right now, but Emma is always, our director, is always victim to me making the most rogue choices during scenes, whether it's Eli brought in sunglasses and a hat. Yeah, shout out Eli, not. He brought in a hat and glasses to rehearsals and left them on the desk, which was part of the set. And I was in my scene basically trying to piss his character off as much as I could. So not only was I playing with the keyboard, but as I walked away, I decided to, on impulse, throw the cap at his head, as in trying to get it onto his head, but it missed. And it was so rogue. And Emma laughed at it, and I was like, great.
Well, that's funny.
Like, that's what I'm trying to do. And then another time I knocked the wrench off the desk, or I kicked a chair over. Like, I mean, obviously they're within reason, within my character's scope, but making a new choice I found really, really helps. I mean, obviously some things are really good, but again, it was something that Tamara said, like, if it works, pocket it and try something else.
Indeed. It's so nice to have a collection of things that work, and it also just makes you more confident as a performer. I get very in my head when I perform, or when I'm devising at least, because when I don't know the thing. So and I would say this is quite recent, because I'm not going to pretend that all my whole life I've been so good at learning lines. Like, everyone's been in a play where it's like, oh my gosh, wait, the play is in how soon? God, I need to lock in.
Yeah.
But especially with Rover, I've been very determined at trying to get my lines in early, because I know that with a script in my hand, or with like a lack of understanding, I become very basic when I'm in a stage and when I'm devising. But when I'm devising without lines, I can become very creative. So it's very important for me to kind of free hands and to kind of like roam around the room and just interact with everything you say. Like, for Rover, there's a big staircase, and obviously, I don't know if people here would know, but it's very hard to get a massive staircase in the devising process, unless you're the RSC and can just casually build a 3-foot scaffold.
Yeah, and you have the funding and all the money to make that happen.
Which we don't. So we have to mimic a staircase that goes up about 10 feet, which is obviously very hard to do, but it's so fun trying to interact with that. And because also apparently there's going to be... Actually, I'm not going to say that. Let me retract my point. Yes, so working with props that aren't there, or kind of just working with any creative instance, is just so fun to explore the whole of your set. So I really like how you did that in Breathe. And I'm so excited to see Breathe. I'm excited to see how and if it's different than the first time they ran it, because obviously they ran it when you weren't here. That's so interesting.
Well, exactly. This is going to be like testament to everything we've said in this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Character originality. Like, what are the differences going to be?
Oh my gosh. And you're going to have the OG cast watching you.
I know, it's quite nerve-wracking, to be honest.
Remind me of your character.
Caleb.
Who was formerly played by... Lily. Oh my days. Shout out Lily.
Shout out Lily.
Shout out my absolute goat, Lily. Lily is wonderful. I did my first ever play in uni with Lily, and we had a fight. Henry V is Henry V. That has fights.
It's
obviously, we die a lot. 1984, there's violence and battles. Yep. As You Like It, which was the play before that. I have a school fight with Sam Bingham.
Oh my gosh.
Who's now directing me. I then before that didn't have a fight for Nowhere Special. Why am I spraying one? Shout out Nowhere Special, guys. Homebound. And then before that was Atkins Avenue, which I did have a fight for. I've had fights in all of my shows bar one.
He said I'm aggressive. I'm a female police officer, and I find that offensive. Basically, funny. Daniel's aggressive.
I'm not. I'm actually violent. The most tame man you could actually ever be.
Tame and man next to each other in the same sentence sound ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Men.
He's been silenced.
Yeah, I don't know.
Are you silent or were you silenced?
I have nothing more to say on the matter. Anyway.
Alas, the point is, we hope that anyone that listens to this finds something useful or learns something from it, because that is our job as workshop and development officers.
Heck, yes.
I say wearing my new
merch. I'm going to pop that up on the screen. That's going to be the only image that pops up on the whole thing. It's just like
just me
in one
and
moment.
My jumper.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh my god, the video, the picture you sent to your dad.
Yeah. Oh my god, my dad's been mentioned in the podcast. Whoa.
Shout out, what's his name?
Steve.
Shout out Steve Rawlings.
Yeah, what a go.
What a go. It's going to be so exciting for freshers. Keep your heads peeled for
keep your heads
Rover.
Peeled, your eyes peeled.
Yeah.
Talk about skinning someone.
No. Keep your eyes peeled for week 7 Rover workshop. Big news. And week 8, there's some interesting things to come.
Yeah, I've been in so many conversations and had to bite back wanting to spill. I mean, obviously the exec no, but
yes,
we're going to get posting something soon. But
yes,
all will soon be revealed, but if you miss it, you're probably going to kick yourself.
Indeed. Week 8, we have a very, very, very interesting workshop, which you will not want to miss.
Because you will kick yourself.
You will kick yourself. Week 9, we have acting in character. Oh my god, that's literally a year 3 module. Week 9, we have acting basics or basics.
Basics of acting. One of a new series of workshops that we might premiere. We're going to trial it now in term 3 and see if we like it and continue it.
This is the basics of acting. This podcast. Is
I know this is, but this is like podcast style.
Yeah.
Like overall,
yes.
if we want to split basics, it'll be into different workshops. Yeah. Alas,
Yorick.
I don't think because our week 8 workshop has replaced one, so I'm not sure exactly what we're going to be doing in our week 9 workshop.
True. Week 9 TBD for reasons.
But it will be
awesome.
Basics of acting.
Yes.
Either vocal and physical. Well, either the voice things or physicality stuff.
And it'll be amazing because we will have, collectively so much more free time to give and mental energy to expend. Because I'm sure for everyone this has been a very busy, dense week, and will continue to be so.
Then week 10.
That was amazing. And as always, as we're going to check out now, I wish everyone the best of luck for their FTTP or community exams.
Anyone's doing community.
If you like theatre and you're listening, but you do not do a theatre course, I wish you the best of luck for your exams. Yes. I know Clem Mayhew, shout out Clem Mayhew, has an exam on a Tuesday, which is literally going to be the day in which this comes out.
Yeah.
Wow. Best of luck to anyone else. And the checkout question is going to be, if you were a tooth, what type of tooth would you be?
Completely unrelated to whatever we've been discussing about, but oh my god, I need to remember the different types of tooths. Tooths. I meant teeth. Canine. I'd be a canine.
I've got really sharp teeth.
Yeah, I know. You're always going on about it.
I've said it twice.
You're always going on about it.
Well, teeth comes up more than you'd think.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
It does. Case in point. Brilliant. I would be a molar.
Molar.
They do the heavy lifting, do you know what I mean?
They
then
do.
Again, I don't know if I'm doing the heavy lifting this week. I've been very busy. But trust.
That's why I'm 76% of workshops.
Right. As our
and
total.
Cut.
136 total percent. Anyway.
Thank you all for listening. We greatly appreciate it. Let us know. We're going to probably post a clip of this on Instagram. So in the comments, let us know what you think, what your ideas are. We are always willing to hear and debate.
Amazing. Goodbye.
Have a wonderful rest of your day or evening or morning, whichever it may be.
Get back to your FTTP rehearsals, guys.
Bye, 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 bye.
Got to sign in.
And Daniel's now got to put the password in, so technically it's not bye.
Yeah,
it is never goodbye in the theatre industry. It is always continuous hello.